This is the first global talk show in 2025. I first of all want to congratulate you for being able to go through 2024 and successfully being able to join 2025. Indeed, congratulations, because we have so many people that did not manage to make. I am happy that Tanya Innovations Africa has brought to you again the first global talk show today. And I'll be introducing our guests tonight. I know that to some of you, it may be a morning, to others it's an afternoon, to others it's an evening. Yeah? Our guest right now, it's about 11:30 a.m. back in the United States in Mississippi. And in Kampala, it's about 8:30 p.m. But in the discourse of what Tanya Innovations deals in, or the type of talks that we bring on the table for our viewers, is to ensure that we can have a connected continent and we can be able to talk about things that affect our universe. Okay? My name is Maganda Evans Tabingwa, your host for this program, CEO Tanya Innovations Africa. And today, we will be talking about rethinking strategic planning in the contemporary world, being able to appreciate the immense changes that are happening around the globe, around the globe, and how we can be able to adapt to ensure that strategic planning is still relevant. Today, I wouldn't have invited any other better person than the guest that we have tonight. And I'm happy that I've had to pick a lady, a seasoned lady, all the way from Mississippi, United States of America, who is now one of our very important contacts in Mississippi. And she's none other than Sherry Davis Ghana. The question would be, who is Sherry Davis Ghana? Now, Sherry Davis Ghana is the Vice President Corporate Strategy of Emerge X company, but she has also been a strategic planner who has worked with one of the largest non-profit organizations in the world, AARP. She has served as a strategic planner to Systems Inc. And for some of you who may know what Systems Inc. is, Systems Inc. is one of the largest handler of Nissan and Toyota. And these are very prominent brands across the globe. Sherry Davis has spoken at State Farm Insurance and has also worked in the government space. But additionally, she still provided strategic planning guidance in quite a number of organizations. Sherry has worked in Haiti. So she has a feel of both high-end and maybe developing nations and things of the like. So we wouldn't have had a better person to talk to us like Madame Sherry Davis. Madame Sherry Davis, welcome to Tanya Innovations Africa Global Talk Show.
Thank you.
Okay, so straight away, I've been able to talk much about you. Could you kindly greet our viewers and listeners? And if there is any part of your introduction that I have not been able to make, kindly just go in, greet the viewers, and tell us who you are.
Well, thank you very much, Maganda. And I'm really honored to be on your show and to have an international stage that you've created. I want to be really honest. My master's is in organizational development. And okay. I started off in my field as a manager. And then it kind of grew into training and development. And strategic planning was not on the radar of many of the companies that I worked with prior to AARP. But it's almost like you have to give people an opportunity to shine. And AARP gave me that stage because I want to just explain a little bit.
Yeah.
When you're in your career, you have to say yes to some things, even if you don't know how to do them extremely well. Now, there are some caveats to that. If somebody asked me to put a person on the moon, I couldn't do it because I'm not an engineer. But what I did is I really studied the craft of strategic planning to get where I am today. And that's why we're talking about it, because I have seen companies that think it's not important. And I have seen companies that honor and respect the planning stage and then carry out the planning. So that's why I'm really excited to be on your show today, because so many companies believe that they can do strategic planning and then just put it in the drawer. And those companies usually hit a wall and other companies can move ahead of them.
Okay. I hear you loud and clear.
Yeah.
Okay. So somebody will want to know, remember that this talk show, part of its role is to kind of create continuous learning to citizens and make sure that people can learn diverse space of subject or knowledge to help them move their organizations, to help them in their leadership and things of that kind. So, but we also have people who do not even know what we're talking about in terms of what strategic planning is all about. Maybe for the CEOs, I would love to let you know that I already have Mr. Mongelio, Christopher Mongelio, Professor Christopher Mongelio from the US, who is one of our Tanya, not fanatics per se, but supporter who has been hosted here. He's listening in. But we also have other listeners who are who may not be knowing about strategic planning. Yeah. So what is strategic planning to you, and what role does it play in an organization? And what would you say from your experience? It has been evolving over time. Can you just be able to paint what strategic planning is and what role it plays in an organization and how it has been evolving or occurring to you as a practitioner?
Right. If someone were to ask me, as you have asked me, just baseline, what is it? When an organization, a business, is in business, strategic planning is going to not only help the organization define what it is, but where it wants to go. When we get in our cars every day, we don't just, if I say, I want to go to Uganda, American Airlines can get me there because it has a specific route that it's going to travel to get me, the passenger, where I need to go. You have to look at what is your vision for the company. That is a piece of the strategic planning. When you look at the vision, you're looking into the future. Then you have to look at your mission. Why am I in existence? Being proactive and resilient. If there is an earthquake in the part of a world and you have a business in that part of the world, how can you bounce back? So when I go into planning, I look at the what ifs. I look at how you can bounce back, how you can recover. And that's actually in your plan. And then also, strategic planning is building that competitive advantage because we're all, you're in business to make money, but how do you want to show up competitively in that space? And if you're not clear about your competitive advantage and what it is, then you're not going to be prepared and you'll end up not competing. Does that make sense? There are a lot of
Okay.
moving pieces, in other words.
Okay.
Um, and then underlining all of this is engaging the stakeholders who are going to implement the plan. And this is not necessarily the CEO of a company, but it's the people who are going to be the management. And I suggest sometimes having non management because they're the boots on the ground and they understand the reality of what's out there and they can inform the plan itself.
Okay. So, okay. Maybe just because when we think about strategic plans, um, usually we think of plans that are done for maybe at least 5 years. Yeah. Now we're having, for example, very disrupting technologies. How does this, would I say a person who was making plans, for example, before the disruptive AI technologies, uh, will still be making relevant plans today? I don't know if you get what I
Um,
mean.
I get what you mean. And any plan that's done today, I would do what's called an AI integration. Um, and a lot of people think AI is going to replace a human being. I'd say yes and no, because you always have to have your engineers behind your AI. You always have to have your computer brilliant people behind AI. What I would say to any company is that you have to use AI in your scenario planning. What does that mean? Um, AI can help you in drafting the metrics, which are the numbers. For example, if you make cars, AI is able to help you look at the demand of the population that's going to need a car. If you make parts like tires, AI can probably tell you, based upon the number of tires sold in your region, what the need is going to be. So it's used for scenario planning, and I use also AI for scenario planning. It can see into the future, but I want to be really clear to the listeners. It doesn't replace people.
Okay.
Now, can you use it in a factory? Absolutely. But at the end of the day, you need people still to be behind the AI. Does that make sense?
It does. It does.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. I think that's a relief to some of the listeners who are not in the tech industry because people are so scared of late in terms of their jobs and, you know, replacements that are bound to happen. Okay. Now,
Yes.
would like to go a bit into the specifics of what you have been doing. Would you tell us about your milestones in the area of strategic planning? I have, looked at your LinkedIn profile. I've been able to discuss with you, and what an amazing CV that you have. Um, what are these? What would you say are these milestones that you have been able to create or impact on the industries where you have been?
Well,
And then,
I
And then what, from that, are you able to clearly highlight the success factors in strategic planning or the limitations or challenges that one is bound to face when he's planning, or those that you have faced, which you think that the listeners need to be aware of?
I want to start with the latter part of your question because I this is a pet peeve of mine. I'm asked to come in to a company and help that company plan, so that it can be strategic, it can be resilient, it can increase its place in the world. What concerns me is when that plan is not executed. Now, your big companies are, your British Airways, your petroleum companies. You better believe that they are executing a plan. But let's say you are a university. I want to use that as an example. There is a tendency for universities, and this is not all universities, to really not understand the planning, because there are majors being offered in universities, and trust me, those jobs are not going to be there for those students who graduate. So a good strategic planner would go in and make that university feel uncomfortable, and saying, you always can't do what you always did. So I want to say the universities, the companies that are successful are the ones that almost can see into that future. That is so important to be futuristic, because we're in a digital transformation world right now. That's not going to stop. Now, do you still need the human element? Absolutely. But whether you are an educational institution or a small business or a medium-sized business, you're gonna hone in on where is the world heading. So I would wrap this up by saying I believe that one of my milestones was when I worked with AARP, because it was judicious in saying, where are we in our plan based on the quarters? We have got 4 quarters in a year. And none of their offices were operating without a plan. They had 53 locations. So there were a lot of balls up in the air. And that, I worked on the regional level. So I would have a conversation with that director and saying, have you achieved this milestone in quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, whatever the quarter was? And I would have to say that the highlight of my career is when I can go into a business. Before I get there, I'm really clear of who they need at the table. You've got to have the people at the top. And there was an organization where I worked with the people in the company, but the person at the top did not see it as important. I've also had a person to say, we had to do this because our board of directors made us do it, and they put it in the drawer. So when you look at companies like British Airways and Shell Oil, name some other ones that are really big. Monsanto Chemical Company.
Emirates Airlines, Uganda Airlines.
Yes. You better believe that they've done what I've done, which is customize your strategic goals, your objectives, you look at the financials, and they can tell you, even in a crisis, they can give you an estimate of how much they'll be able to bring in financially, how many people that they need to hire. So that has been, I think, one of the highlights is when I go into a company, they don't put it in a drawer, and they're really enthusiastic about those milestones that they hit every single quarter. But I've had some career lows too, because some people want to do it because they've been told to do it. But trust me, those small companies or mid-sized companies are being eaten up in this world because they're not planning well.
Okay. 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 But in terms of, are there some specific quantifiable, how can I put it? In terms of finances, where you will say maybe with planning of such strategic plans, the organization I was in were able to move from this portfolio to this figure. You understand what I mean? Are those
Yeah.
are those
Say that one more
things that you
time.
can share? Like what I'm saying, you could have worked with an organization. It might not be individual. It will not be individual. Like personally, an individual effort. But in terms of working with some companies where you have made those strategic inputs and you have made a company, for example, say, move from 500 million to 700 million dollars or something like that. That's what I'm asking.
I did have a company, and you mentioned this company, Systems. Systems has contracts with both Nissan, and at the time, they did not have contracts with Toyota. This company wanted to hit $1 billion, and that's not a small feat for a mid-sized company. They're not your humongously large companies. It took a lot of discipline. It took a week's worth of planning. And they had every single person who makes a decision in that room. But I'm here to tell you that this company has hit $1 billion because of the planning that I did with them. They were financially disciplined as well as people disciplined. I think they're two different things.
Okay.
But that was a huge milestone to see a company grow to that level of revenue.
I can't tell you.
And last but least, I will say this, Maganda, they were disciplined and they were extremely clear that they were not going to get off target.
Okay. Wow. Okay. Okay. I think when you talk about $1 billion here, okay, that's quite a figure. I mean, already in third world countries or developing countries, even 1 billion shillings is quite much amount of money. So that's quite a commendable job to, to associate yourself with such strides. Okay. Now, what are some of those visible trends you have been able to see in strategic planning? I think the evolving trends that you can share with viewers in terms of, or the listeners, in terms of, those things that are changing or the evolving issues in the area of strategic planning.
One of the things that I think COVID changed the world. And what I mean by that is all of us around the world began to work in a hybrid setting. We were working out of our homes, and then when COVID eased up, we would have maybe X number of days in the office. X number of days in your home. And the generation, I don't know what generation we're on in terms of its name, but that 20-year-old wants to get up in the morning in slippers and work from home. Companies, there are some companies that say do or die. You either come in or you don't have a job. But there are other companies that are realizing in order to retain talent, they need to hire differently for people that have a tolerance level of being able and the discipline to work at home. That is another trend. I don't think that the older manager understands that. And so strategically, you have to hire or you have to do skill building to understand you can trust people. I don't know if you can train trust, but I do think you have to implement it in your management policies.
Okay.
Also, data privacy and security is not going to leave us. So you have to have your IT people who understand protecting data and investing in the software that is not going, I don't know if you cannot allow it, but the ironclad data privacy software, I think, is definitely a trend that's here to stay. I also want to talk about supply chain diversification. If supplier A, and we're seeing this in the United States particularly, the United States is saying to Canada, we're going to put tariffs up to 20% on the goods that are brought into our country. They also are going to put a larger tariff on China as well as Mexico. So is the United States citizen prepared for that? I would say absolutely not, because it's going to be shell shock. But it's also going to be shock to the companies in America, because a lot of what we get is sourced throughout this world. And if you're having to pay more for something, guess what? The consumer is going to buy less. So this is where these are trends that are not going to go away in the planning. Because if you pay $4 a gallon for milk, and you get your milk from another country, guess what? If you didn't plan for that, if you haven't sourced what I call alternative suppliers, you're going to be stuck with that $6 a gallon milk. So when you look at strategic planning, you have to look at the trends that we're being faced with, and that's globalization.
Okay.
So I could go on, but it is so important to look at the climate, to look at what the modern worker may want, because the 20-year-old is very different from you or myself in the work ethic. Okay. And if you're not prepared for that, you'll just have what we call a revolving door.
Okay. I see that. Now, Eldobit, coming off from, Mississippi, the United States, do you have any, what type of experience have you had, especially working in, developing economies? How are these plans coming? What challenges do you see? What future is it that you seeing that maybe people who are in this space can be able to learn from?
I do believe that if you look at the supply chain, what we have been told in the U.S., and I hate this terminology, when we call not a continent, but we call a country a third world country. I don't believe in that.
Okay.
Because you can be up today and you can be down tomorrow. And
I agree.
emerging nations, especially in Africa, have so much potential. And when you look at Brazil, Argentina, these are nations that are self-sustainable. And so if we're not looking globally and we're just looking inward, then we're missing the boat. And so if you're looking at only doing business in America, let's take myself, then I've already fallen short, because there are, and I don't like the word emerging, but there are nations in this world that want to hire the expertise, that want to be able to source the product, can do it better than, let's say, the European nation or the whoever they're doing business with. So when you're looking at planning, you have to look at who else has either the man and woman power, who has the product that I need, who has the resources that I need. And so for me, as a planner, I look at the supply chain diversification.
Okay.
You're in the country of Uganda, correct?
Correct.
Okay. What are your natural resources?
Which is the pearl of Africa.
Okay. Yes. And why do you say that?
No, I'm saying that because it was declared by Sir Winston Churchill, former Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, who declared Uganda as a pearl of Africa because it has one of the best climates. It has the green lush. It has, very arable land.
And you have your power is also not only in your people, but your natural resources. It's a very rich nation in natural resources. So if nation X needs something and it's always gone to its neighbor, but Uganda is prepared to raise its hand and say, well, we have X, Y, and Z, then not only can you strategically plan to source that resource or that product, but also you're improving the lives of people financially.
True.
And what I would love to see is a nation, a government, begin to strategically plan for its people. Government sometimes is so inefficient because they don't strategically plan. But the nations who are rich and their understanding of what's out there, what's in their people, what they have, and how they can source it to the world, those are the nations that are rising.
Okay. Thank you very much. The listeners who have tuned in, we are having our guest tonight, all the way from Mississippi, from the United States of America. She has been able to give us quite a number of insights about strategic planning And what she has done in this area, she's called Sherry Davis Ghana, quite quite an experience that she has had in this area. We started a little bit late, but I think once we come back, we shall be touching maybe some of the last remarks, but also for those who are tuned in to know that she is fully available through these Tanya Innovations connections. Whatever you're hearing there, if you want to say that, okay, I want Sherry as a consultant in Kampala, as a consultant in Dubai. I can see Atik Nasib from listening to us from Dubai, who says strategy is very important. Okay, maybe I'm just going to, Sherry, I'm just going to make a short recognition of some people online who I know who are members. Then we can come back and and maybe if you still have more, you'll be able to wind up on some issues and then maybe give your parting remarks. I want to acknowledge, I'll start with Mr. Atik Nasib. Why Mr. Atik Nasib? Atik Nasib is the former also vice president, like you. He's a former vice president of Dubai Chamber of Commerce. Okay? And I think he's online because he has been one of the Tanya Innovations guests in Uganda sometime in September at Cavendish University. So we acknowledge him. He's right online, and he says strategy is very important to the success of any business. Okay? Mr. Atik Nasib, if you like what Sherry is communicating or what she's very available, get in touch with Tanya Innovations Africa. We shall be able to avail the contacts. Francis Mandepu from Dar es Salaam, interesting conversation. Big up, Tanya. Joshua Kaziva, great insights. Benita Owembabazi from Scholar Media Africa, very impressive. And wow, listening to the program. Magezi Michael, it's really good to hear such amazing conversation from the guest today. Junior, I don't see any name. Tanya Innovations, welcome you are all. Francis Naburi Jr., I have realized that AI is not a conceptual waste. Okay. Zedi Lutomia from Kenya, enjoyed the conversation of our guest and all the information shared. Francis Naburi, still great being here with Tanya Innovations. Kanyike Victory, I really had fear of AI. Okay, so thank you, Sherry, for being able to convince people that AI is not to take their job. Rapt Creative Academy, great to hear. Thank you, Tanya. Nsimbe Timothy, I really love what I'm hearing right now. Young X Gaming Live, okay, I don't know what that means. Junior, this is really interesting and great to be here. I do appreciate what Danya does. Cheers, boss. Sabella Low Ups, welcome. Martin Christopher Mongelio, excellent to see and great going. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you. You can keep on that coming, but we shall be going back to our guests to give us any other information that she wants to provide. But as I've already said, part of this show is for continuous learning, because we know that the world is evolving at a very high speed, and we need to keep ourselves, in order to adapt, in order to be able to keep the pace. We need always to be getting information from different directions that can help us to stay on the radar. And I'm happy that, Sherry has spared her time to be able to come and speak to us. But I also want to let you know that with the digital economy, you should not be suffering from a certain corner, because you don't have personnel that can help to give you very good strategic plans. Sherry is very well available as part of the culture of Tanya. We are connected, and in case you need to get such a solid, qualified, seasoned strategic planner, please, she is available. and you can get in touch and get this high quality brand. As she told you, they've been able to work with a company, I think, and make a move. Okay, make a move of over $1 billion. So you can imagine if she's been able to make plans of that category, then it's a matter of time that she'll be able to give similar services to your organization. Okay, Madam Sherry, if there are any specific things that you still want to give to the audience, and then once you are done with that, we can then come back to parting remarks and we shall close the program.
I first want to say thank you, because I realize, and you gave me the platform today, how invested I am in another company's success. It's just like natural resources. Natural resources, of course, are in the earth, but we are all natural resources. And today you've created a platform, a vehicle for me to share what I have learned. I am very passionate about success. It's in my DNA. My parents were planners, not strategic planners, but my father was in the Marines. And where I'm going with this is my father still lined his shoes up in the room as though he were a Marine. He kept them shined, which was a requirement in the military. My father, as well as my mother, were really neat people. And I think that type of upbringing really helped me understand you either plan or you die. And that's drastic. But if we're not organized as people, which is really what strategic planning is, how am I going to get there? Whether it's the individual or the big company or the small company, you have to have that roadmap. And today you gave me that roadmap, and I want to say thank you to you as well as the listeners. Thank you. Wow. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much, Sherry, because what we're trying, like we've been living in the globe where, people are isolated. If you're in the US, you are on your own. If you are in Uganda, you're on your own. We have always been having local conversations. And reasons why we appreciate these cross-boundary conversations is that, we have a lot to do back here. But then we also need to learn a lot from space that is not, within our confines. Yeah? You know what I mean?
That's right.
So
yes.
That's why we keep this type of conversation. That's why we go very personal with our clients in terms of making sure that, this partnership is real. It's not just a business partnership. You're seeing Mr. Atik Nasib is a former vice president of Dubai Chamber, but we called him here as a guest, and now he's able to follow our shows and we're able to exchange. So just know that you're already part of the Tanya Innovations Africa family by, first of all, having been on this platform, and we shall keep these conversations going to be able to help those who are not better to come up, and even those who are supposed to utilize the opportunities better to do very well. In our network, whenever we get people who are talking about strategic planners, we shall just simply tell them, yes, we can do very good strategic planning because we already have one member on our side. You understand what I mean? So when we go places, we shall just be, yes, we have people who can plan very well. So whenever you get those calls, don't say, hey, but no, you're already part of the family. So we really want to thank you for your time. And I hope that our listeners and viewers have benefited. If, for example, you hinted something about Africa being endowed with resources, but I also know that there have been very many questions as to why some of these resources have not been used optimally to to help the people. So while we may have them, it could be that we're literally having challenges of how to plan, but maybe we don't know that we don't know how to strategically plan. These are conversations we need to dive in. Yeah. And I think it has come a time when we need to be sure that we tap to different corners of the globe, both within and outside. Okay? To be
Absolutely.
able to learn how
Absolutely.
some other persons or other organizations or other companies or how other governments or how other countries have been able to do, so that we can raise critical numbers of young people that can develop our nations, can develop our institutions, can develop our infrastructure to help the leaders in place. So I want to thank you very much. I don't know if you have any other thing you want to say to the listeners or the viewers.
Well, I just want to say thank you. And as Maganda has said, I am available through him. And I I really think that 2024 is going to be a good year, because I believe that there's
You
a
meant
saying
25.
by 25.
All right. Okay.
There's a saying that if you always do what you always did, you will always get what you always got. And
Right.
I think it's so important to do something differently so that you
Right.
can increase your chances for success in the business world.
Wow.
So, excuse my really bulky sweater today, but it's 30 degrees outside. I can't get my house is probably like 60 something, but I have a draft coming through this window. So it's really bulky, but it's warm.
No, it's okay. Did you say you're
Thank you.
about 3 degrees?
Not 3 degrees, it's about 32 degrees. So it's right at freezing, but it's
No,
windy
is that
today.
in the negative? 32 degrees.
No,
32 degrees is very hot.
no. Well, we're Fahrenheit. So
Oh,
that's
okay,
freezing.
Fahrenheit. Okay, okay, that's
That's
freezing.
freezing.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I get it. Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Thank you.
To our listeners and viewers, we want to thank you once more. We want to let you know that this conversation, entire conversation, is recorded as it being
Mhm.
streamed live. It is going to be on our social media, our LinkedIn platform, on the YouTube. So if you want to be able to follow, if you want to share with somebody who wants to learn, if you have some people who have been, some companies that have been facing challenges in strategic planning, if there are government officials listening who will maybe listen to this video later, we don't have to keep on asking ourselves, oh, who can help? Yeah, what Tanya
Mhm.
does is bringing such personnel on board and making them part of our team to be able to help you with that work. Please get in touch. We shall be able to avail the contact of Sherry Davis Ghana, and she'll be able to do a good job. It will not certainly be a free job, but I'm sure that she will not overcharge if you come as
Right,
a
right.
Tanya Innovations client. So please, those who have listened in, thank you very much. And back to you, Sherry Ghana. We want to thank you very, very much for your time, and we hope that this begins quite formidable conversation, both for you and Tanya Innovations and the globe, yeah, to ensure that we can
Yes.
provide value in the space that we occupy in 2025. Thank you
All right.
very much, and God bless you. Stay well, and send
Thank
regards to
you.
people in Mississippi.
And God bless you.
Uh, Okay, thank you. God bless you too. Bye-bye.